Good morning. Welcome. Be in the garden. I trust you're well. I certainly am. Be in nature if you can. It's the middle of winter. We're in February and I'm in my garden because I have a task to do today. Despite the snow, you can probably see the snow is falling. My intention today is to prune back some of my apple trees, and I'm going to be showing you how I do that today. I'm going to be showing you why I do it, how I do it, and when to do it. Let's start with the when. It's cold, it's dormant, and for me, it's a perfect time for me to prune back the apple tree, to give it the best chance once the spring and the summer comes, for it to put on the new growth, the blossoms in the spring, and then the apples in the late summer, early autumn. So I'm going to show you how I prune them back and what it is that I use to prune back my trees. So stay tuned, and if there's something you can learn from it, that's great. I remember when I first started gardening many moons ago, and I always used to get the impression that it was too challenging to know how to prune back apple trees. And to be honest, I plan to show you how I do it, and it may not be the way that is the most recommended way, but it certainly works for me. Okay, so this here is my apple tree. You might have seen it in some of my previous videos as well, and I'm going to be pruning this one back. You may notice that I actually had started this project a few days ago and then it snowed. So I put it on hold for a few days, but I'm back outside in the garden. I'm going to continue pruning my apple tree. I have with me again my pair of Secateurs, and this tree here is the one that I spoke about before, that is actually a grafted tree. So this tree here has got 3 different apple trees grafted onto one root stock here. These 2 trees, remember I said to you we need to look at branches when pruning. Consider taking out branches that are dead, damaged or diseased. But what I've got here is a bit of an issue where these 2 branches are rubbing against each other, and in the long term that's not going to be good for my apple tree. I therefore have to make a decision as to which 2 of these branches I'm going to remove. It's a good idea just to step back sometimes and have a look at the whole picture with what's going on with your tree. To balance this tree off, I'm going to remove the lower. I'm going to remove the upper of the 2. This one here that splits into 2. I'm going to remove this one here using my Secateurs. So if you can have a look at this, I'm going to come as close as I can in towards the central trunk with the Secateurs, and you'll notice that the blade part is as close as possible towards the trunk. Secateurs can really cut anything up to about your small finger or the thickness of a pencil. So I'm going to cut this away all the way to the trunk, but as I showed you before, I'm going to cut beforehand just to reduce the weight of the branch, and then come all the way close in to the tree. Good squeeze, and that's been removed. That will heal in no time. Okay, what I can look at now also is where I am. This branch here is going to be congesting the inside of the apple tree. So what I've got to try and do also is I try to remove any branches that are going to be in the inside area of the tree. So this one here has to be removed. Remember, I want to have my blade as close to the branch that remains. So I actually need to turn my Secateurs upside down and see whether I can take a cut in and remove that. I'm trying to aim to have good circulation here. I have got another plant behind me, and that's the camellia. In fact, we're in the middle of winter and you can see that happening here. It does have beautiful blossom, so I still need to try and create some space in this tree. With this particular branch that's coming out here, I've got an equivalent, if you like, to my right hand side, but this branch here is going downwards. I'm going to aim to remove the branch that's aiming downwards, and I'm going to take it away all the way to the main branch with a clean cut. I can see some remnants of some fruits from last year here. They're not going to do anything, so I'm going to remove that. I'm just stepping back again to see how the shape of the tree is going, and I can see for myself that already I have a very long branch here, and it's very low down towards the ground. I'm going to remove this low branch away from the tree itself. Again, you can just come in halfway, just that the weight of the branch doesn't spoil and cut. And again, I want to get my blade, the sharp blade, closest to the branch. So rather than me cutting it here, where it will leave a small stump, where disease can enter, I'm going to do it this way and remove that. That's a nice clean cut. I also try to create the shape of the tree as well, and in doing so it helps to encourage the vigoration of the growth of the tree, so I will actually have more apples by doing so. But it is important to recognize when I cut the tree to really only aim for taking away or pruning no more than a third of the length or the third of the size of the tree. But remember, pruning is a good thing because it does help to invigorate the plant. This one here, I can see that once the leaves start coming into this particular branch here, there's a lot of crossing going on here. There's a lot of crossing going on here, not only here but also above here. So I don't want that rubbing and growing in the way. So I'm actually going to remove this particular branch. By doing so, it's going to open the space here. This is going to be cut all the way. Before long, you won't even see that there anymore. There are a couple of small branches here, and again they're going to be growing into the tree. I want to keep that nice and clear. This is growing downwards, but can I just bring you into here actually, because what you can see here is, I spoke about it before, these buds here are rather larger than some other small things, like something above here. These ones are a little bit more swollen and a bit more bulkier, and they have this sort of rigidity thing, this sort of crushed area behind it. That's an indication of where the fruits will grow in the spring. So the blossoms first and then into the fruits. But if I look closer, maybe because of squirrels, there's a little bit of damage here on this particular branch. And again, because I'm trying to remove it and clear space in the center, but also get rid of damaged or diseased, I'm going to actually remove this particular branch from the tree. This is just growing in too close into the center of the tree, so that will be removed. This will also be removed. And it means that the tree doesn't have to spend too much energy on all these small areas. It can focus on, this will be removed. So these are quite cleared up now. The one behind it, I'm going to do the same here. Clear out some of these smaller. Again, this is taking place in the center of the tree. I want to remove this, and also it's facing downwards. I tend to take the ones away that are facing downwards. So now then, I've cleared the inside, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 main branches, maybe a 6th one here. This 6th one, let's have a look what's happening here. It's sort of trying to compete with the camellia at the back there. There's plenty of space in between here, so I'm going to leave that one here, but I might prune it back just by shortening the limb. I've got another branch here heading downwards. I am going to remove this branch here. Again, I need to try and get my blade closest to the branch, so you might be wondering why sometimes it appears my hand is upside down, but I'm always trying to get my secateurs, the blade part, closest to the trunk. That's why I twist my hand. Now that I've cleared the central area, I'm just going to step back now and see what else I've got going on here. In fact, if you look up here again, there's another branch that is twisted and is rubbing against this tree, so I need to do something here. I'm very aware that behind here I've got the hedge, so I can't let that grow too far backwards because it will interfere with the hedge. So I'm going to have to make a decision with this particular branch here. So as you can see, this branch is curling back in towards the tree and it's crossing. So what I need to do is prune back to an outward facing bud, I'm actually going to prune back to here. And it means that this particular bud will now start to shoot outwards here. If I were to cut it here, then it means that it would shoot and grow in this direction. So really you can control which way you want your tree to grow. I want it to grow backwards so that it's not growing in towards the tree. So I'm going to take a cut above this here. You might notice as well, remember the cut that I do is at about a 45-degree angle. It's slanting, and it's slanting away from the leaf or the bud. I make it slant away about 45 degrees to make sure the water runs off that way and not running down towards the bud. So it just helps to prevent things like water clogging there. This one here, there is a lot of space here, so when it blossoms and everything, there's plenty of space here. However, for the ones that are going downwards, I'm going to remove the smaller branches that are aiming downwards. So I'm going to take my secateurs and just do a clean cut here. These two will now grow upwards and hopefully fill this space where there is plenty of it. This is a nice long branch here, but I don't want it to keep growing indefinitely. So what I am going to do is take it back to here, perhaps here actually. This bud here is a nice bud, and it's a nice wide bud. So if I cut that branch here, it means I've stopped the growth coming outwards because I want to control the size of this tree, but where the new bud will grow from is facing outwards, and it's going to grow in this direction here. And what I have here is another branch, but it's kind of doing all kinds of things here, you can see here. And what I want to try and encourage this particular branch to do is sort of grow out into this direction, so grow out towards me. I'm going to cut this here and encourage this growth up here. Rather than it being very, very light and growing outwards, I'm going to cut that here. And that means that this tree is going to fill up here, continue growing in this direction here. It's always a good idea to cut towards, wherever you decide to prune, is to cut towards an outward facing bud. By that I mean, let me just see if I can show you an example. If you have a look at this branch here, again it's really quite long, and I don't want it to just continue growing indefinitely. I'm going to try and control this particular tree. I'm going to take this one out that's facing downwards, and this is where fruit is likely to grow. So I'm going to cut to that one, and it means I've stopped the lengthening of this branch, and it's going to grow outwards here. There's a bud here facing outwards. I'm going to cut 45-degree angle just below it, or just above it, sorry, just above. I'm going to cut that right here. And what that means, 45-degree angle, the rain runs off without putting too much water into the bud here. Here again, an outward facing bud, so coming outwards, I'm just going to clip that there as well. With this particular one here, it's the same. I'm just going to take it to an outward facing bud here. If I were to cut it to this one, it would start growing in towards the tree. I want to encourage it to grow outwards. Okay. This one here has a beautiful bud just growing up here, but it's growing in towards the tree. There's another one growing outwards, so I'm just going to tidy this up. There's a little bit of dead tree here, and now that's going to grow outwards. Just up here there is a bit of damage to the tree, and one of the things I like to do is get rid of the things that are damaged. So I'm going to remove this bit just a below to a bud, an outward facing bud. Just going to spring back, so let me. Okay, so I've removed the damaged area, although it is shorter than these, so actually I might even take this out altogether actually, and I will. I'm going to take this branch out in its entirety to open up this tree. Let's take this out. Okay, so by doing that, what I've done is just opened up this space that will help for circulation. Just going to take a step back and have a look. Okay, so again, just to balance off the tree, I'm going to do some tidying up on this side here as well. So here, to an outward facing bud, to an outward facing bud. Okay, let's see what I really do want to take off with that one there. Okay, so I'm just deciding really, even just by stepping back, it's a good idea to step back and just have a look at the tree and try and visualize what it will look like in the spring. Because although the apple tree here is quite tall, I know I want to prune back this tree to the left of me, and this is the red robin. So I'm going to gently bend that down towards me, or I could bring a ladder out, I suppose. And I'm going to trim it down to outward facing buds. I'm going to take these inner ones out, so I'm going to take these two out completely because there's too much competition going on in there. That's better. And then I'm just going to get to that very, very top one there, just to bring down. You could climb onto a ladder if you should choose to, but I'm going to just take this to an outward facing. That's a lot better. You see, so it's got quite a bit of space. I took two branches out from here, so it's not too narrow. And I'm just going to do the same with this last one here. Just bend it gently towards me. I can do that without it snapping. Take that to an outward facing bud. And here. And I'm done with this particular tree. Okay, so just to go back and show you what I managed to do. I'm happy with that, I think. I'm trying to create balance in the tree as well. I can see now, I thought I was done, but really this branch here, if you can see, is going to be growing downwards, but it won't get a lot of sunshine because it's going to be stuck with the ones that are growing upwards. So I'm going to remove this lower hanging branch as well. That's going to be just taken out, just to tidy up. I'll keep you posted with how this tree goes. It did well in the autumn. We had some nice fruits on here. Some did better than others. Remember, it's a grafted tree. But with this one here, it's one of my favourites, and it was a special present to myself. So I do like to take care of this one and make sure. But I'm happy with that. I can see another one that needs pruning. You can never prune too much, I think. But don't be afraid to do some pruning. For those of you who are wondering, what do I do with the pieces of branches that I cut off? You know me, nothing to waste. So I cut them up and I use them with the mulching. You can see underneath this tree here, actually, which is my magnolia, I've got some branches just trimmed down. I'm just going to trim a few of these down and add. And by doing it, it just means, well, for me, that's what nature would do. You know, some old branches that fall off. They fall and go back into the soil, make new soil. So I just cut those up into smaller pieces and I just add it to my soil. Years ago, I used to regularly go and buy compost and also mulch for my garden. And then I realized that I was getting rid of perfectly good stuff just to go in a car to go and buy some stuff to then cart back into the garden and put on my soil. So now what I try and do wherever possible is just use what nature has made naturally. So I will cut up my pruned branches and I'll just use it on the ground as well. To add back to nature. So thank you so much for following me today. Like I said, I knew I had to get this job done. It's the middle of winter, but it's also a good time to get pruning with your apple trees. They will thank you for it come spring. What I promise to do is I'm going to show you the blossoms on this one once they start to come out. But thank you for watching me do my pruning. That's how I do my pruning, and hopefully, you know, it's giving you some encouragement to be able to do the same yourself one day. As always, if you've got a question, and thank you for those of you who have asked me questions, I'm really looking forward to that interaction with you guys. Ask me some more questions, perhaps about pruning or anything about the gardening, and I'll come back to you. But thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time on my channel. Be in the garden, be in nature. Thank you for watching. Be. I need to blow my nose. Be in the garden. No. Yes, sorry, I forgot. So sorry.